Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stoic Dialogue, ancient philosophy for the modern mind,
Where we turn philosophy.
into deep, life-changing conversations.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into something a lot of you have been asking about,
Yeah.
the fleeting nature of life
Absolutely.
and how to truly make the most of our time. Think of this as your shortcut to feeling well-informed
Yeah.
on this idea without having to wade through tons of material.
Right.
And guess what? Our guide for this journey is none other than Marcus Aurelius himself,
Oh, wow.
Roman emperor, and surprisingly enough,
Yeah.
a dedicated Stoic philosopher.
That's right. It is fascinating how even amidst the chaos of ruling an empire, Marcus Aurelius found time for deep introspection
I know, right?
and wrote about how to live a meaningful life despite its fleeting nature.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get right into it.
Okay.
Our sources talk about life's fleeting nature, using this incredibly vivid image
Yes.
of a falling autumn leaf. What do you think they're getting at with that analogy?
Well, it really captures that beautiful but bittersweet feeling, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just like that leaf swirling down in all its vibrant colors.
Yeah.
We too are here for a limited time.
Right.
The Stoics wanted us to grasp this impermanence,
Right.
to see that every moment is unique and precious because it won't last forever.
So instead of getting caught up in what might happen tomorrow
Right.
or dwelling on yesterday's regrets, the Stoics are urging us to truly be present
Yes.
in this moment.
This moment.
I guess that's where the whole carpe diem thing comes from, right?
Exactly.
Seizing the day and all that.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be about grand adventures.
Oh, okay.
Even simple things like enjoying a cup of coffee can become profound experiences when we approach them with full presence.
So just like really being in the moment.
Yes, imagine really savoring each sip.
Yeah.
Feeling the warmth of the mug in your hands, noticing the aroma. These seemingly small moments can bring a surprising amount of peace and joy when we're fully present.
It's almost like a mini meditation, right?
Yeah.
It's just bringing all your attention to that one experience.
Exactly.
But, and this is something I've always wondered about Stoicism.
Yeah.
What about when we experience loss? Loss of a loved one, a relationship ending,
Yeah.
even missing out on an opportunity.
Right.
That's where it gets really tough to stay positive, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the Stoics weren't suggesting we deny or suppress these difficult emotions.
Right.
They acknowledged that loss is a natural part of life.
Okay.
But, and here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
They saw loss not only as a source of sorrow, but also as an opportunity for gratitude.
So how do we go from grieving to being grateful?
Right.
That seems like a pretty big leap.
Well, it's about shifting our perspective.
Okay.
Instead of dwelling on the sadness of what we've lost,
Yeah.
the Stoics encourage us to remember the joy of what we had. Instead of fixating on the fact that someone is gone,
Yeah.
we can choose to cherish the memories we made with them, the impact they had on our lives.
Our sources actually gave some really practical suggestions for doing this.
Oh, okay.
Creating a photo album, writing down those happy memories,
Yeah.
or even just taking some time to reflect and relive those moments in our minds. It's almost like turning loss into a celebration of what was, wouldn't you say?
Exactly. It's about honoring the good times, the love, the laughter,
Yeah.
all those things that enriched our lives,
Right.
instead of getting stuck in the grief. And this leads us to another key Stoic practice,
Okay.
which might seem surprising at first,
Okay, what's that?
the practice of contemplating death.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Now that's a bit of a heavier topic.
Yeah.
I can already hear our listeners thinking,
Yeah.
wait, didn't we sign up for life-affirming philosophy?
Right.
Why are we talking about death?
It might seem counterintuitive, but the Stoics believed that contemplating our own mortality can actually be incredibly freeing.
Okay.
And this is because they believe that virtue is the sole good.
Okay.
Everything else, wealth, health, even our loved ones, are what they called preferred indifference.
Okay.
We can appreciate them and enjoy them, but we shouldn't be overly attached to them.
So by acknowledging that we are not in control of everything,
Right.
especially not the length of our lives,
Yes.
we can release some of that anxiety and fear.
Right.
Yeah.
Precisely. And that brings us to one of the most powerful thought experiments in Stoic philosophy.
Right.
Imagine you only have 1 year left to live.
Oh, wow.
How would that change your perspective?
Oh.
Now, of course, nobody wants to think about dying,
Right.
but this exercise is about much more than that.
Okay, so let's try that thought experiment for a second.
Okay.
If we knew our time was limited,
Right.
wouldn't we be less likely to waste it on things that don't truly matter?
Right.
Maybe we'd finally pursue those dreams we've been putting off.
Yeah.
Or we'd be more present with the people we love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a powerful way to reevaluate our priorities and make sure our actions are aligned with what truly matters to us.
Right.
And I think this brings us to the core of Stoic philosophy.
Okay.
It's about realizing that even though life is fleeting, it can still be incredibly meaningful.
Okay.
And that meaning comes from living in accordance with nature.
Okay, now that's a phrase I've heard a lot in relation to Stoicism.
Right.
Living in accordance with nature.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, it's always sounded a bit vague to me.
Right.
What does that actually look like in practice?
That's a great question. And it's something that the Stoics themselves wrote a lot about.
Yeah.
Essentially, it means recognizing that we're part of a larger order,
Okay.
a grand interconnected web of life.
Mm-hmm.
And within that order, change is constant.
Okay.
Seasons change,
Yeah.
relationships evolve,
Right.
we age.
Mm.
It's the natural flow of things.
So instead of resisting that flow,
Yes.
clinging to the illusion of permanence,
Right.
we should learn to accept and even embrace these changes.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And that acceptance, in turn, leads to a greater sense of peace and even joy.
Okay.
Because when we stop fighting against the inevitable, we free up a lot of mental and emotional energy.
I'm starting to see how this all ties back to the idea of focusing on the present moment.
Yes.
If everything is in flux,
Right.
if change is the only constant,
Mm-hmm.
then the present moment is really all we have, isn't it?
You got it.
Yeah.
And that's why the Stoics developed practices for cultivating present moment awareness.
Okay.
One of them, which might sound a bit odd at first, is called negative visualization.
Negative visualization.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. Tell me more about that.
Well, it's not about being pessimistic or dwelling on negative thoughts.
Okay.
It's more about using our imagination in a strategic way.
Okay.
For example, imagine you're having dinner with your family,
Mm.
enjoying a delicious meal, good conversation, laughter.
Right.
Now, for a moment, visualize that this could be your last meal together.
Wow. Okay, that does sound a bit heavy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd want to do that every night.
The point isn't to make you feel sad or scared.
Okay.
It's to help you appreciate the preciousness of that moment,
Right.
the simple joy of being with your loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
By contemplating the potential loss of what we value, we become more grateful for what we have right now.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's like a mental exercise to shake us out of complacency and remind us not to take things for granted.
Exactly. And it ties into another core Stoic principle,
Okay.
which is gratitude.
Okay.
Now, practicing gratitude might seem like a pretty common sense thing,
Right.
but the Stoics saw it as a powerful antidote to the feeling that life is fleeting and meaningless.
So how did they suggest we cultivate gratitude? Was it anything like those gratitude journals that are so popular these days?
Well, they didn't have journals back then, but the idea is very similar.
Uh-huh.
They suggested taking a few moments each day to simply reflect on the things we're grateful for.
Okay.
It could be anything. A warm bed, a sunny day, a kind word from a friend.
It's like training our minds to focus on the abundance that's already present in our lives,
Yeah,
rather than dwelling on what's missing.
exactly.
I could see how that would be incredibly helpful, especially in a world that's constantly bombarding us with messages about what we lack
Right,
and what we need to buy to be happy.
right. It's about shifting our perspective from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance.
Right.
And that shift, in turn, can lead to greater contentment and happiness.
Yeah.
And it leads us nicely to another important Stoic principle, finding our purpose.
Okay. Finding our purpose.
Yeah.
Now, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Mm-hmm.
How did the Stoics approach this question?
Right.
Did they believe we each have a preordained destiny,
Mm-hmm.
a specific path laid out for us?
Not exactly.
Okay.
They didn't see it as something fixed or predetermined. Instead, they believed that each of us has a unique role to play in the grand scheme of things,
Right.
a specific contribution to make.
Right.
They called this our vocation or our calling.
But how do we figure out what our vocation is?
Yeah.
That seems like a pretty daunting task.
Well, the Stoics didn't offer a step-by-step guide,
Right.
but they believe that we can start by looking inward,
Okay.
examining our values, our talents, and our passions.
What
What are we naturally good at?
Mhm.
What do we care deeply about?
Right.
What brings us joy?
So it's less about finding some grand, externally defined mission
Yeah.
and more about aligning our actions with what truly matters to us on a deeper level.
Exactly. It's about living a life that feels authentic and meaningful to us, regardless of what other people think or expect.
Right.
And once we find that purpose, it can serve as a guiding light, a source of motivation and inspiration, even when we face challenges and setbacks.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like having a compass to help us navigate the ups and downs of life. And I think this brings us to a crucial point that our sources emphasize: the importance of taking action.
Absolutely.
Because it's not enough to simply contemplate these ideas.
Right.
We have to actually put them into practice in our daily lives.
Absolutely. The Stoics were all about action.
Yeah.
They believed that true wisdom is not just about knowing what's right, but also about doing what's right.
Right.
They stress the importance of taking small, consistent steps rather than trying to make big, sweeping changes all at once.
And each step we take, no matter how small, brings us closer to living a life that is aligned with our values and our purpose.
Exactly.
So what would be a good first step our listeners could take to bring some of these Stoic principles into their lives?
Well, remember that morning coffee ritual we talked about?
Yeah.
Really being present with that experience?
Wow.
That's a great starting point.
Okay.
It's a microcosm of how we can approach the entire day with more awareness and appreciation.
It's like a mini mindfulness practice, but with caffeine.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, instead of scrolling through social media or getting lost in the news cycle, they could try that gratitude reflection. Just a few minutes to think about 3 things they're thankful for.
Simple but powerful.
Yes.
And maybe, just maybe, they could even try a little bit of that negative visualization.
Now you're getting it.
Yeah.
It's all about experimenting and finding what works best for you.
I love it.
Yeah.
So to wrap up part 2 of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave our listeners with a question to ponder.
Okay.
What is one small action you can take today to live more in alignment with your values and your purpose?
And we'll be back in part 3 to explore even more ways to put these Stoic ideas into action and truly make the most of this fleeting, precious life we've been given.
Welcome back to Stoic Dialogue. I hope you had some time to think about that question, the one we left you with.
Right.
What is one small action you can take today to live more in alignment with your values and your purpose?
It's all about turning those big philosophical ideas into tangible, bite-sized steps.
Yeah.
Remember, the Stoics weren't just about thinking deeply. They were about living intentionally.
Exactly. So let's dive into some practical strategies inspired by Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics. We've already talked about savoring that morning coffee, practicing gratitude, even trying out that negative visualization exercise.
Yeah.
But what else can our listeners do to embrace this idea of living a meaningful life, knowing that time is fleeting?
Well, one thing the Stoics emphasized was the power of choosing our response to external events. We might not be able to control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we react.
So instead of getting swept away by anger, frustration, or anxiety, we can pause, take a breath, and choose a more constructive response.
Exactly.
Like that what you're saying?
Exactly. It's about cultivating that inner space between stimulus and response. And one way to do this is to practice what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, which basically means anticipating challenges.
Anticipating challenges. So it's like mentally preparing ourselves for things that might go wrong.
Yeah.
Isn't that a bit pessimistic?
Not necessarily. It's more about being realistic and mentally prepared. For example, let's say you're about to give an important presentation. Instead of letting anxiety take over, you could spend a few minutes beforehand visualizing potential obstacles. What if the technology fails? What if someone asks a tough question?
By thinking through those scenarios in advance, we can develop strategies for dealing with them calmly and effectively. It's almost like having a mental toolkit for handling whatever life throws our way.
That's a great way to put it. And it ties into another key Stoic principle, focusing on what's within our control. We can't control the weather, the traffic, or other people's opinions. But we can control our own thoughts, actions, and reactions.
So instead of wasting energy worrying about things we can't change, we can channel that energy into things we can influence.
Exactly.
It's about shifting our focus from the external to the internal.
And that brings us back to one of the most powerful quotes from Marcus Aurelius. Don't waste any more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one.
I love that quote.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful reminder that it's not about talking the talk.
Right.
It's about walking the walk.
Yeah.
It's about putting these principles into action.
Absolutely.
Day after day,
Yeah.
moment after moment.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be these grand, heroic gestures. It could be something as simple as holding the door open for someone.
Yeah.
Offering a helping hand to a colleague. Or even just choosing to respond to a difficult situation with patience and understanding.
It's those small, everyday actions, those little choices we make.
Right.
That ultimately shape who we are and the impact we have on the world.
And those actions can become a powerful antidote to the feeling that life is fleeting and meaningless.
Yeah.
Because while our individual lives may be finite, the ripple effect of our actions can extend far beyond our own lifespan.
That's a really beautiful and inspiring thought to end on.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Stoic philosophy of living a meaningful life in the face of impermanence, remember these key takeaways.
Okay.
Savor the present moment. Practice gratitude. Contemplate your own mortality. Focus on what's within your control. And most importantly,
yes,
take action.
Because in the words of Marcus Aurelius, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos.
Yes.
Stoic Dialogue, ancient philosophy for the modern mind.
See you next time.